For the last few days, I've had the opportunity to shoot with Canon's new EOS M mirrorless camera. Now, if you don't know what a mirrorless camera is, let me give you a quick review. DSLR cameras, which stand for Digital Single Lens Reflex cameras, operate on the mechanism of an internal mirror that flips up. And the way this works is that light comes through the lens, bounces off this mirror, which is placed at an angle. That bounces up into the viewfinder, and we can see through the lens in real time. When we actually take the picture, this mirror flips up, it exposes the sensor, which can then capture what was coming through the lens, and then the mirror flips down. It all happens very, very quickly. Now, there are several great benefits of DSLR cameras. Very large sensor size, extremely important. We also have the ability to take our lenses off. And when we can swap out lenses, there's a huge variety of focal lengths and apertures, specialty lenses like tilt shifts, and it allows us to change the look of our images using the same camera. The manual controls, raw shooting, all these things are fundamental in DSLR cameras. A point-and-shoot camera, for the most part, is a much more compact, much smaller camera, not always. They typically have much smaller sensors, again, not always, and they typically lack the manual controls, speaking very generally. They're really for convenience, for portability. You throw it into your shirt pocket, and you can take it out and, if you're out on the town or whatever and take pictures. The quality of the images in compact point-and-shoot cameras aren't always the best, mainly because the sensor is very, very small and we don't have these options with the lenses. A mirrorless camera fits somewhere in between a DSLR and a point-and-shoot. It lacks the reflexing mirror, so there's a lot of extra room we can take out. And so the result is we have a very, very small compact camera, but the benefits are they still typically have larger sensors, and they also allow us to use interchangeable lenses. In the case of the EOS M, this is a brand new lens mount referred to as the EF-M. So we can change the lenses. There's no reflexing mirror. We have all of our manual controls. You can still do video, photography. It's essentially taking a lot of great technology and putting it into as small a camera as possible. Mirrorless cameras have been around for several years now, but this is Canon's first entry into the mirrorless category. The Mirrorless M in many ways is very similar to the Canon T4i. They have the same 18 megapixel sensor, the same Digic 5 processor, the same touchscreen monitor, which is super awesome if you haven't seen it yet, the same menu systems, the same live view features and focusing systems, the same video shooting capabilities. The Mirrorless M has full manual control for both photo and video. You can shoot in RAW. It's essentially like a little baby Rebel in a very, very small camera. The cost of the M, at least at the time of this recording, is about $800, and that includes a 22mm f2.0 lens. It's a pretty good low light lens. For comparison, the Canon Rebel T4i, you're going to find it for about $800 to $900 depending on rebates and where you get it, and that would come with an 18 to 55mm kit lens. So price-wise, out of the box, we're talking about $800 to maybe $850, very similar priced. So the next question you probably have is, how are the cameras different? It's a great question. The main benefit of this camera is its size. It's 1/4 the volume of the T4i, weighs about 10 ounces, and for comparison, if you have an iPhone 4, think of 3 iPhone 4s stacked back to back, and that will give you a very close size of the camera body itself. The lens is also pretty dang small. You'll also notice that it's lacking an optical focusing system. So the T4i has 9 cross-type focus squares in the optical viewfinder, which is really great for focusing. The Mirrorless M does not have it. Another thing is that the M lacks a built-in flash. And with that built-in flash, it also lacks the off-camera flash transmitter that's built into the T3i and the T4i. So no flash systems, but you will notice it does have a hot shoe mount, and it is compatible with the full lineup of Canon speedlights, from the 600 to the 580, the 430, the 380, the 270, the STE3, the STE2. It works with all of these flash systems. There is also a new little accessory flash you can get for it. Runs about 150 bucks. Now, in terms of frames per second, the T4i is shooting at 5 frames per second on its fastest burst mode, and the M on paper shoots at 4.3 frames per second. So that's also similar, a little bit slower. One of the negatives right now is that there are only 2 EF-M lenses available. The kit lens that comes with it, and the 18 to 55, it runs about $300. So if you want that extra lens, you're going to have to put out some extra money for it. One workaround that Canon has made is that there is an EF lens adapter that will allow you to use all of your Canon lenses with this camera. And that adapter runs $200. They're really, really hard to find right now. I wasn't able to get my hands on one, but at least that would give you a lot of compatibility. You know, especially as a photographer, I have a camera bag full of different lenses and flash units, and putting this into my camera bag gives me a viable backup. And I'll be explaining a little bit more in terms of what it's really good for. One of the first things that I wanted to know was, how does the image quality of this little teeny tiny camera actually compare with the T4i? I've been shooting with the T4i for several months now, and so what I decided to do was put a 20mm 2.8 lens on the Canon T4i, and I went down to the beach with both cameras and took pictures of the beach and the scenery, some people, some friends. I did a couple low light tests, did some video tests, and it became very apparent very quickly that the images, in terms of the stills and the video, are very similar. Okay, there's going to be some slight differences when you're using different lenses, obviously, but for the most part, we're looking at the same types of images for both cameras, for stills and video. There is one major problem with the M, and that is, out of the box, it is going to be very difficult for a beginning, intermediate, and even an experienced photographer to understand what's going on with the focusing systems. When I first started using it, I almost thought that it was a deal breaker. That's how sketchy they were. But when tinkering around with the menus and the focusing systems, I quickly learned that the live view focusing systems on the T4i are very, very similar to the M. And its focus is accurate and it's easy to use. But I will say that if you are a sports shooter, this is not the camera for you. The M has a problem with fast moving subjects, especially when they're coming to and from the camera itself. Side to side, not as bad, but again, fast moving subjects, you're probably going to want a DSLR camera. All this said, I have a video coming that will show how to use pretty much all the focusing systems on the M, and once you have that down, it is a fantastic camera for portraits, stills, landscapes, product shooting, things of that nature, things that aren't moving so quickly. Another note that I want to make is that the Mirrorless M's video features are actually pretty phenomenal. They're very comparable with the T4i. In fact, they look, act, and feel almost the same. The M even has an external microphone jack. So if you are a videographer that needs a very, very small camera that has a relatively large sensor that you need to put in a very small space, this is something you're going to want to look at. So in summary, who would be most interested in the Canon EOS Mirrorless M camera? My recommendation on this would be experienced photographers who are looking to save space in their camera bag. Maybe they use one camera all the time and they want to have a very compact backup. If you're a portrait photographer, this could save the day. I also think photographers who travel, if you're looking for a very high quality camera that would fit into a very small space, such as a backpack or a purse or a glove compartment in your car, it's going to be a pretty good option. You're buying the M for its compact size. If you are a beginner, intermediate photographer who is just getting started, if you are a sports shooter or somebody who likes to shoot birds or things moving in nature, I am definitely going to make the recommendation on the T4i or the T3i. The optical focusing systems in those cameras are pretty dang good, even for fast moving subjects. The Mirrorless M, you're not going to be able to shoot a lot of sports with it. If budget and features are your main interest, again, I'm going to say the T4i and the T3i are better cameras. There are accessories where we can, try to upgrade the M to become similar to a Rebel that is out of the box. Okay, so if you look at price, $800 for the Canon M. The 18 to 55 lens is $300. Okay, so we're at $1,100 right now. The flash is $150. The adapter is $200, and you're probably going to need an extra battery. The batteries are a little small on the M, so in order to get the functionality of at least as close as you can get it out of the box, you're going to spend about $1,500 on the M. So in terms of value and features, I think the T3i and the T4i are better deals. But again, I know a lot of pro photographers, videographers who are looking for very, very small solutions, and the M is a very interesting camera. If you have a T4i, a T3i, or an M, I have excellent, in-depth, easy to understand crash courses that will get you up to taking great images in no time, and you can order them from the following link.